I think I know just the place.
All right, we're back. It's been a long time. Just same old, getting in the gym, keeping everybody moving. Rescued another pig, so been busy with that, taking up a lot of my time, but I still want to address a lot of topics on these podcasts and, just advocate for the better nature of the athlete. That's how all sports start, taking advantage of their athletes like a mule, and eventually when the sport grows to the point that it wants to by the owners, the athletes also now have the ability to talk about stuff like this. And now we have avenues like YouTube. So anyways, I wanted to just get it out here. Well, this is just a simple topic. We're not going into anything crazy today, folks. But, and if you notice, long hair, I'm getting fatter. I hope I look bigger. But I'm definitely trying to gain weight in this off season. But, so yeah, I'm trying to grow the Thor hair, although I'm not a blonde. So we'll see what happens. On that note, topic of today is how often should a natural bodybuilder compete? I don't really want to get into the IFBB because with the third-party sources that, fair play, everybody going into the IFBB should be taken advantage of. But when you seem to see these guys, they make tremendous growth, competing even upwards of 2 times a year, and every single year they get bigger and bigger. The reason why I don't want to talk about them is because they seem to get bigger at a near maximized potential limit. Like every time these guys are coming in, they're getting huge and then bigger and better the following years. As a natural bodybuilder, taking advantage of what I consider the 3 fundamentals of what a natural athlete should be. If you're getting drug tested, this is exactly the only things that you should be doing 24/7, 365. And if you disagree with me, fine, I don't care. But adequate sleep, proper consistent training, and a relentless ability to manipulate food in a manner in which it helps you progress. And that's difficult to do, all 3 of those. But when you do get all 3 of those, you seem to... Naturals aren't small, they're not weak. I walk around about 235 to 242 pounds. I can see, other guys not as tall as me, looking just, if not bigger, proportionately, walking around the same, these guys are not small, nor are they weak. I've seen guys Rob's size, and it's not saying he's a small guy, just not an immense body weight of a 250-pound guy, and they're hoisting and squatting 550, 650 pounds. That's impressive to me. Now, if you want to garnish what's impressive to a power lifter that doesn't get tested or a professional athlete that doesn't get tested like an IFBB pro, no, it doesn't seem impressive. But long story short, we got to get into how often you can compete. This is the whole cyclical thing about this topic. If a natural bodybuilder is going to compete every single year, chances are the growth potential, we're going to do this in a curve, okay, a bell curve. The growth potential is, it's going down. The bell curve is not as high. You just don't give yourself enough time. If you're 45 and you haven't ever competed before in your life and you trained for a long time and now you're 45, compete as much as you want. You're already on the downslope of this bell curve. You cannot maximize performance anymore at 45 naturally. You just don't have it in you. You can maintain a very, very high caliber physique at 45, 50 years old. You're not progressing at that age. Get that out of your head, okay? It's just human nature. We lose testosterone as we get older as men. It diminishes, and eventually we just got to keep working out to try and keep our test levels as high as we can. So as a natural bodybuilder, figure competitor, I don't care what you are, in a natural bodybuilding show out of any division, if you're competing every single year, you're limiting your growth factor. Why? Because you, as a natural athlete, and I've seen it time and time again, people don't grow when they're competing. Let me reiterate something here. When you properly prep for a bodybuilding show, you're doing it for like probably 20 weeks minimum. The whole prep, 20 weeks minimum. You do that once a year. Now you've only got, 32 weeks to grow each year. It sounds like a long time, but it's not. It is not. And then you throw in 2 shows a year. Now you have to prep. Now, even if they're close together, it's still going to take an extra week, and then you're adding another week into the show, and then another show, and then who knows if you're even lucky enough to get those shows back to back. That's also very difficult. Not to mention the fact that the longer you stay in a depleted state, the longer you're going to go backwards. It's not healthy to be in a diminished state. It's not healthy for hormone levels. It's not healthy for you training hard. You want to train smart and hard when you get down to these levels, but it's not healthy. So you're only going, at the tail end, you're literally like fighting off diminishing returns. You're not going to see progress. You're just literally trying to fight to maintain what you got. And the longer you stay by trying to do more shows or consistently prepping throughout the year for multiple shows that are way far apart, maybe one at the beginning and one at the end, there's a rebound effect in this fashion that people take advantage of. You really need to extrapolate that rebound effect and continue to run with it. I always say when you got a good thing, don't stop it. But then you start to rebound and you basically get back to where your baseline was at your peak off season prior, and then that's when your body wants to start to progress even more at the rebound. Normally what happens though is people just don't give themselves enough time. They start getting stressed out. I got to do this show, that show, this show, pressure, blah, blah, blah. No, none of that. And on that note, we even said 2 times a year. I'm getting word that you're signing a contract now. I love it. I love the idea of contracts in the sense that it's going to help the athlete. We need to look as professional as possible. I get that. But if you're going to tell a natural bodybuilder to compete 3 times a year, where to begin with that? You're not going to have the athlete grow. You can't compete 3 times a year unless you're, let's just, okay. Extreme example. Saturday. I've done it before. I've done this before, so I can speak from experience. 3 straight Saturdays in a row. You can do this. The amount of time it takes to get to that first show and then the amount of time to rebound out of the last show, you shouldn't feel like crap if you're doing it right, but the amount of time it takes to actually properly rebound to the point where you're better than what you were at your previous off season, from anecdotal experience, and this is just me, by the time I got back to where I was baseline prior, I would already almost be needing to get ready for another show the following year to do another 3. And that's if I wanted to do 3 in a row. Just to take advantage of your growth, you're doing 3 in a row. Do you know how much money that's going to cost you? I'm telling you right now, I am the cheapest person when it comes to traveling for shows. I will stay anywhere. Stayed with Rob at the Florida show, split with Ralph at the Mr. America. Cheap as, trying to just save money on gas with people driving down. And then in the show in Virginia, it was the same thing. Rob and I drove down, I just drove back, and he's gone. It's like, and still that cost a bit of money to do, even at the cheapest end, or the York show, I should say, not the Virginia show. That's just not feasible to expect an athlete to do. If that contract, especially if that contract doesn't garnish them any money, because what if they go to these shows and don't even place top 3? Well, now they've just pissed away a whole bunch of money. Well, if you're telling them to do 3 shows and you want them to do 3 shows, at least probably try and vouch for entry fees and stuff like that, I guess. But at the very least, we wouldn't want to see the athlete pissing away money and then losing. And then this leads into the ultimate thing with this multiple competing, throughout the year as a natural athlete. This is why I pray the Olympics picks up natural bodybuilding. Why do I say this? If the Olympics picks up natural bodybuilding, every 4 years you're going to have the ultimate kick-ass edition of who the best natural bodybuilder is from each country going into the Olympics and representing their country. There's many ways we can get into that, but let's just say it happens. Every 4 years now, you're going to there will be temptation to do the smaller it would be smaller than the Olympics. It would be, you throw your ego out the window. Mr. America, United States Championship, and Natural Olympia would all be smaller than the Olympics. So there would be temptation to do those smaller shows because the money, the accolades, all that. But you're going to get some dudes and some ladies that are going to take 4 years off every single cycle to be as big and as good as they can get. Obviously, we're going down a rabbit hole here. You got to drug test, make sure that these guys are pure, but you're going to see freaky people when you give them 4 years to train and then come back every 4 years. You will see some freaks. I would bet that once we found out who that person is out of the United States, they could probably walk around and win any show they wanted, anywhere. All the small shows. The temptations would be there for them. If they could pull it off, do it. That's good money at the big, I'll say it now, big shows. When you compare them to all the other ones and the payouts, because the Olympics is, I don't know what they garnish for athletes financially, but I know you get a lot of accolades, so, and you get a lot of mainstream stuff. But all in all, this competing like once a year, it probably should be pushed away. We need to push away from telling athletes to compete every single year. Robbie will tell you the same thing. He's not here today, but he'll tell you the exact same thing. There's a reason why him and I stopped. People ask us all the time, when you compete again, when you compete again, when you compete again. 24. I am not doing another show until 24. Why? Because you need time to grow. I understand if people are trying to make a name for themselves, trying to make money doing bodybuilding, and they love it just like I do. But if you really want to maximize your body, you gotta cool it, and you've got to train your butt off. We're specifically talking about too on the younger side. I should have noted that earlier, but you get an older fella, like I said, who's past his prime, maybe over 40, where they're going to see like very hard work just to see even a fraction of a % of an increase. Yeah, those guys can do it. Those are the guys that I would advocate. You guys need to push your buttons and try and do as much as you can. Look at the guy that won the Natural Olympia last year, okay? Or I'm sorry, Meshack. The previous, was it Meshack last year? Holy moly, I don't even remember now. What's his name? Paul Kruger. Look at that guy, okay? I looked it up. I do a lot of research in natural bodybuilding. I am a crazy fanatic of this as much as I compete. I don't even think he competed prior to that Natural Olympia. So this is so funny how this goes down. If he watches, it's funny. Rob and I watched Paul at my uncle's house when we were competing, doing my last show of the year. My last show of the year down by Miami. I stayed in Rob's. We threw up the INBA channel and we watched a video. These two guys in this show as amateurs, I believe they were insane. Or maybe they were pros at the show. I think, whatever. It was insane. I knew the mass on Paul was like, where did that guy come from? Then Rob and I were like, oh, okay, whatever. He goes on to win a Natural Olympia. Rob and I talk about it. This guy, I did some research on him. I don't think, according to one of his posts, he competed prior to the first show we saw him at. So he did that show and then the Natural Olympia and won it. So prior to that first show that Rob and I saw him at when we were down in Florida, I don't think he competed until like 2024. 2004. I don't think his previous show was like 18 years ago, 17 years ago prior to that show. Look at the mass on that guy. You could sit there and cry about he wasn't being drug tested, who knows, whatever. I don't care about that. The premise of today's topic is don't train every year. Consistency over a long period of time while giving yourself a caloric surplus of nutrients is going to promote the peak. We don't want to do anything else but that. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. We always want to be at peak performance. So, this is why food becomes so important. I can't stress it enough with like positive and negative nitrogen balances in the bloodstream. People don't understand this stuff, and then they sit there and they go to other lengths. But when you constantly strip your body in a caloric deficit and you're constantly stressing, promoting cortisol about another show, because I know for me, I don't get stressed about shows. I could walk in, I don't care. I do as many as, I just don't care. But most people aren't like that. They're going to get stressed about shows. They're going to think about it. And it's going to promote cortisol spikes. And then that's going to promote a catabolic environment. So then let's just say you're still in a caloric surplus, but you're so stressed about the shows that you got to do every year that you're yielding a catabolic environment in your body. And you're breaking down tissue because catabolism is the breakdown of tissue. So when you're eating pizza, you're not promoting catabolic thoughts, okay? And I'm not saying pizza's a good thing, but when you have the ability to eat the pizza in the off season, the ice cream, the donuts, the Oreos, the cookies, whatever you want, when you got those options in the back of your brain, you're going to feel better. So when you're constantly stressing about stuff and you're constantly putting yourself in a caloric deficit, you're constantly training in a caloric deficit and pushing yourself, you're stressing yourself out mentally, catabolic. You're also putting yourself at risk of a higher injury rate. These are all things I want to avoid, not only for myself, but for all of you folks out there watching this, because I want the sport to grow and I want to see better athletes. The only way to do that is to just push the buttons on speaking out as an athlete, as a fanatic, and there's a lot of young people coming up right now. I just turned 30. There's a lot of younger guys coming into this right now, and I encourage them to please ask the elders in this sport. Find genuine people who have been doing this a long time and talk to them about advice and what you should do, because this sport is a landmine right now to try and navigate through. I'll be honest with you. There is fragmentation mines everywhere you step in this sport, and it shouldn't be like that. So on that note, we are going to get into some more topics leading into why it's a sticky situation right now. Rob's going to be here Sunday. I don't know if Chris is coming, but we're going to find out. Well, I shouldn't say coming, but coming on. He's in Minnesota, but he might come on and talk. He's a genuine guy. I like him. We had a very good conversation. And we are going to certainly discuss some of the stuff that's going on right now that needs to be addressed. So as an athlete and a fanatic, I hope you like this video. And on that note, Warzone is going to be out of here, and we'll see you back Sunday.